Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation, also known as the three affiliated tribes, are a Native American group comprising a union of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara peoples, whose native lands ranged across the Missouri River basin in the Dakotas. As a result of hardship, losses from infectious disease and forced relocations, these three peoples came together in the late 19th century. As of 1870, the nation is based at the Fort Berthold Reservation in western North Dakota. The tribe currently consists of about 14,900 members. Nearly 6,000 live on the reservation, others live and work elsewhere. History. Recent history. In 2010, the tribe passed amendments specifying blood quantum, or minimum amounts of tribal ancestry to qualify individuals for membership and as candidates for public office. Individuals must now have at least 1/8 Mandan, Hidatsa, or Arikara ancestry to become an enrolled member of the MHA Nation. Before the amendment's passage on November 3, 2010, membership was open to any individual with documented lineal descent, with at least one parent being a member of the MHA Nation. In the same election, the membership of the three affiliated tribes voted on an amendment regarding the eligibility of individuals as candidates for public office of the tribe. As of November 3, 2010, a person must have at least 1/4 Mandan, Hidatsa, or Arikara ancestry to qualify as a candidate for the Tribal Business Council. The prior requirement to run for public office was open to any person who was a member of the three affiliated tribes regardless of blood degree. On July 30, 2013, the people of the three affiliated tribes held a secretarial election on two proposed amendments to the Constitution. The first changed the composition of the Tribal Business Council from 1 to 2 representatives per segment, and added an additional representative for each segment with a population of at least 700. The amendment passed by a vote of 303 to 205, out of 1,249 registered voters. The second amendment created a process for petition and voting for each segment to remove any councilman, and allowed for a segment to hold a special election in case of a vacancy on the council. This amendment passed by a vote of 443 to 65. These amendments were challenged on the grounds that the election turnout was insufficient. In September 2013, the regional director of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Weldon Loudermilk, declined a petition to decertify the results of the election. Tribal Business Council. The Tribal Business Council consists of 6 segment representatives and a chairman. Each member's term lasts 4 years, and there are no term limits. The Tribal Business Council holds regular meetings on the second Thursday of each month, and subcommittees meet at different times throughout the month. Mandan. The Mandan are a Native American tribe currently part of the three affiliated tribes of North Dakota. At the height of their historic culture, the Mandan were prosperous and peaceful farmers and traders, noted for their excellent maize cultivation and crafting of Knife River flint. They built earth lodges, and made them villages of considerable technical skill, and cultivated many varieties of maize. They were a more sedentary people than other, more nomadic tribes of the Great Plains. Lewis and Clark stayed with the Mandan when they passed through the upper Missouri region on their expedition to the northwest, including 5 months in the winter of 1804 to 1805. Sacagawea were a Shoshone who had been kidnapped and adopted by the Hidatsa at an early age, joined the expedition as an interpreter and native guide. Because of her contributions, she was honored with an image on the U. $1 coin. On the return trip, the expedition brought a Mandan chief with them back to Washington, D.C. The smallpox epidemic of 1837 to 1838 decimated the Mandan, leaving approximately 125 survivors and destroying the society. They banded together with the Hidatsa to survive. Later, when the Arikara were forced northward by wars with the Lakota, they also settled with the Hidatsa and Mandan. When European American settlers began arriving in this territory in number in the late 19th century, the U.S. relocated the three tribes to the Fort Berthold Reservation. Under the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, the tribes formed a tribal government which they called the Three Affiliated Tribes, a self-governing unit. Today about 30 individuals are confirmed Mandan full-bloods. Most members of the tribe have varying amounts of Mandan, Hidatsa and Arikara ancestry. Some explorers describe the Mandan and the structures as having European features. In the 19th century, a few people used such anecdotes to speculate that the Mandan were, in part, descended from lost European settlers who had arrived at North America before 1492, the voyage of Christopher Columbus. One legend associated them with having Welsh ancestry. Historians and anthropologists have found no evidence to support such a theory. Hidatsa. The Hidatsa, called Monetary by their allies the Mandan, are a Siouan-speaking people. The Hidatsa name for themselves is Nuxpaga. The name Hidatsa, said to mean willows, was that of a band's village. When the villages consolidated, the tribe used that name for their people as a whole. The language is related to that of the Crow Nation. They have been considered a parent tribe to the modern Crow in Montana. The Hidatsa have sometimes been confused with the Gros Ventre, another tribe which was historically in Montana. In 1936, the Bureau of Indian Affairs compiled the tribe's base roll listing all Hidatsa as V for Gros Ventre. Today about 30 full-blood Hidatsa are members of the affiliated three tribes. Most Hidatsa people have ancestry also of the Mandan and Arikara tribes. Arikara. The Arikara called themselves Sinish. The Arikara were forced into Mandan territory by conflict with the Lakota. Between the Arikara War and the European-American settlement in the 1870s, the Arikara lived for many years near the F.D. Clark trading post, also called Knife River. In 1862 they joined the Hidatsa and Mandan at like a fishhook village near the Fort Berthold trading post. For work, the Arikara men scouted for the U.S. Army, stationed at nearby Fort Stevenson. In 1874, the Arikara scouts guided Custer on the Black Hills expedition, during which his party discovered gold and prompted European-American desire for the lands which the Lakota considered sacred. In 1876, a large group of Arikara men accompanied Custer and the 7th Cavalry on the Little Big Horn expedition. Arikara scouts were in the lead when U.S. Army forces attacked the widespread encampment of thousands of Sioux and Cheyenne warriors and families. Several scouts drove off Lakota horses as they had been ordered, and others fought alongside the troopers. 3 Arikara men were killed: Little Brave, Bobtail Bull, and Bloody Knife. During the subsequent confusion, when the scouts were cut off from the troopers, they returned to the base camp as they had been directed. After the battle, in which Custer and some 260 other U.S. troops were killed, the search for scapegoats resulted in some critics mistakenly accusing the scouts of having abandoned the soldiers. Notable tribal members: Edward Lone Fight, chairman of the 3 affiliated tribes. Tex G. Hall, chairman of the 3 affiliated tribes from 1998 to 2006. Denise Juneau, the state superintendent of public instruction from Montana.